I am Feel It.
And I am Fix It. And we talk about life.
And stuff and things.
With the occasional rant.
Which you will have no problem doing.
Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, as the case may be.
Okay, we're going to do that.
Sure.
Every time. I'm planning on it now.
Well,
I'll let you say it.
We can do one way or another.
One way or the other.
Yeah.
It's afternoon for us in the moment.
Yes. Yep.
Forgive us if we refer to daylight. But okay.
I try not to refer to daylight. Other than daylight is for the birds.
Oh my gosh.
But that's me.
So lame.
That's
okay.
Me. Yes.
So,
anyway.
My dear.
Yes.
You had to calm down before we started today. You just got a lot of energy, or is there something?
No.
You're going to explode with something? Like
no.
What's going on over there?
No, just psyching myself up.
Psyching yourself up to talk?
Well, sure.
That's weird.
Not really. I talk way less than I do when we're doing this most of the time. Anyway. You'd be amazed at how much I keep in.
No, I wouldn't.
Okay, maybe you wouldn't. But...
You feeling calmer over there?
I'm feeling fine.
Okay. I know, it's just one of those days. It's just weird.
It really is, yeah.
It's a weird seasonal day, weather day, as it is. Yeah, just weird.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're on our... What is this, the third spring?
Yeah.
I'm not expecting snow again, but...
I don't think so. I hope not. I mean, there might be something, but it's hard to say.
It's hard to tell. Here it is. For us, the beginning of April.
Yes, I know. It's going to be a little odd, the way that we laid these out, because we recorded ahead of time as we were preparing for some life events. And then we'll get caught up. We will get caught up to the point where this is going to be like a week. So it's more current.
Sure. But that's also, I think, one of the reasons why we decided to not focus specifically on current events and more things that are a little more universal and less timely, I guess. But anyway.
Regardless.
Yeah. Anyway, that's...
The episodes will get caught up.
Sure.
Soon enough.
Sure. As life happens. But that's okay. We're good. We're good there. That's not a problem. We got it covered, I think. Anyway.
I think we're just both off today.
We are. But that's okay.
Well, I had the idea to follow up to the Jordan Peterson tour event that we had gone to.
Yes.
Just because I know, it impacted you way different than me, but I just thought it would be nice to follow up because you did write some stuff down and you had some thoughts, and you were at a different level of excitement than I was. It was very interesting to see him in person, like live, pacing the stage, and thinking just deep, deep thoughts in a millisecond.
Yeah. You got to be awake.
Holy cow.
You got to be thoroughly awake if you're going to go see him live.
We were sitting next to people that were, they were probably early 20s-ish.
Yes.
So excited to be there.
Oh, extremely.
This group of young men that were just so excited. It was kind of cute to see.
It was pretty cool.
Yes.
And again, seeing him there, and as he's exploring his thoughts and getting into, the way he thinks about things and the way he breaks down his thoughts and how he chases them down until their conclusion is, it's something to see.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely different. He has made an art of thinking about things. It's rare in most circles. He's definitely one of our modern philosophers.
He's incredibly controversial, and I can see why, but at the same time, I don't I mean, I think I'd referenced before that I'd been listening to him and citing him for academia for a while. So I kind of separated myself from the controversial stuff, but I am aware of what made him a name.
Sure.
And what's kept him a name. But I do think that overall he does have extraordinary concepts that from a mental health standpoint, which is my world, they are valid and real, and he's highly studied.
Very. And he's very referenced, extremely so. I think it's from what I've personally seen, the people that are, demonizing him or they're generally taking something he said out of context to make it work, or they're reading things that they think he's saying rather than what he's saying, which it's one of his points that he makes is he chooses his words extremely carefully. So what he says is what he means. Don't read into it. Don't make it think, don't try and
just go with it.
Yeah, go take him at face value. What he said is what he meant. There's no subtext. He goes out of his way to eliminate subtext, and he's not implying, he's stating. So, anyway, that's another thing entirely.
Which just makes it more fascinating to watch him.
Yes. And frustrating sometimes.
So that means every tour event was different.
Yes.
Every single one of them was individual.
Yes. Well, there's a theme. Thematically, they're the same. But as he progresses, it's a stream of consciousness that he's got going on. So as new insights come to him through questions and experience and his experience on the stage talking to people, it evolves, which is also kind of fascinating in and of itself. If you watch some of his lectures and some of his lecture series, you can actually see him come to conclusions rather than just following thoughts. And it's kind of fascinating to watch.
You do that far more than I do.
Sure.
Okay, so you wrote down something, though, as a talking point.
I did.
So.
And he said a lot of things. And if you took the time to write any of them down, by the time you were done writing them down, he'd moved so far beyond it that you were lost. Because, that's just how it works. And but something stuck with me, and I wanted to make sure I remembered it, because of the connotation of it kind of stuck with me. And this is as close as a quote as I can get to Jordan Peterson.
Because he was talking a mile a minute.
Yes, he was.
There's no pause and rewind.
No, he was. Yeah, you can't pause the man and repeat it to make sure you got it exactly verbatim. But I wrote down as best as I could. But what he said, more or less, was when you align yourself with the highest possible good and you look for guidance, God is the one who answers.
And this was not a how do I want to word it? Religious oriented.
No, I mean
this was just part of a larger.
Yes. The tour is We Who Wrestle with God.
Yes.
So he is using
biblical stories
in his academic career. He studied a lot of mythologies, for lack of a better word, including Bible stories. Mm-hmm. And yes. What's the underlying sociological and psychological and philosophical truths underlying those?
That make it more relevant to us today in life. And
and
it seemed like that was some of the tone that he'd had.
Yes. Now he's gone further than that in his life and his walk in the world.
Oh, I was going to ask you if I could have it in front of me.
Certainly.
Yeah.
You go.
Yes, thank you.
But, see, that statement made me think of something else that I heard him. It was in an interview. It wasn't even necessarily an interview. It was a debate where he was on one side, there was somebody else on the other. And, again, to paraphrase, his response to one person's thoughts was, everybody has a hierarchy, a moral value hierarchy that they operate under. Because if you don't have some kind of hierarchy, you're painfully confused and you can't operate in the world because you have to make choices. Do I pay this bill or this bill? Do I get food? Do I go to this show? Do I do that? You have priorities, and some things are priorities of wants, and other things are priority of importance. And at some point, something sets the standard for those moral hierarchies. It's like something is at the top. That is the ultimate standard by which you judge all of the things that come beneath it. And how he put it was, whatever is at the top of that hierarchy functions as God for you. So if you think
not
about
like Jehovah Jireh, not the
Well, no, he was.
But yes, yeah, I don't know.
Whatever it is,
his presentation of it was not like a church service.
No.
I mean, that's not. No, that's what I'm trying to say, and I'm not doing it well, which is ironic considering who we're talking about. But yes, that's it. When you say God to you, I know. I mean that there's all faiths. Like there's religions that call him God, but he wasn't just talking about that spiritual being. He was talking about a physical thing. Could be your God.
Whatever it is that you put at the highest point of your hierarchy, whatever that happens to be. If the highest possible calling in your life is to make a bunch of money, then that money, that drive to make money, functions as God in your life. It's the moral compass, the direction that you drive to, that thing that motivates you when you don't want to be motivated, that thing that points you in the direction that you believe is the highest possible good. That thing, that being, or that concept is functionally God for you. And you put that with the statement of when you align yourself with the highest possible good, what you conceive to be the highest possible good, and you're looking for guidance, it's that thing that is the highest possible good that guides you.
And then all of your actions fall in line with it.
Yes.
Because that's what you are seeking. And
yes.
And yes.
Yeah, you align yourself with what you believe to be the highest possible good, but the highest possible good, in that same kind of connotation, that thing that you believe to be the highest possible good functions as God in your life, as your guiding principle.
It was incredibly deep and philosophical.
It is.
I can talk about it on a different level, but
and
I can even follow you with this particular talking point. I'm not going to do it justice like you, but it's.
Well, and
we all have our gods, and we could talk for probably a few hours on like idols and the biblical components of that. And there's certainly several Bible stories, which he does mention a few.
Sure. Well,
or he did in the one we went to.
Yes, he uses the biblical examples anyway, he uses the biblical examples of different individuals who wrestled with God.
Say, I'll be honest, I haven't read the book, but he mentioned several.
Yes. Anyway, but see, to me, we've had, in previous episodes, we talked about commitment
Yes.
Actually, I believe we talked about maturity, and one of the things that is a hallmark of maturity is one's ability to not make silly commitments and standing by the commitments that you make. Kind of related. I don't know if we got into it or not. Maybe. I don't think so. Similar concept, I guess. The idea that once you make a decision, 1,000 other decisions are already made, so you don't have to make them. Yes. And as if you truly make a decision. And in a similar way that, it's like whatever it is, your highest possible good directs your path. When you truly make a decision, that thing moves up your hierarchy. Like, for instance, if we grew up fairly broke.
Yes, we both did. Yep.
Effectively broke parents, broke families. In many ways, not for lack of trying. Mostly, I would say, for lack of good education.
That's a fair way to put that.
But if you make the decision that I'm not going to be broke, and I don't mean necessarily I'm going to have a whole bunch of money. It's I'm not going to be broke. If you truly have made that decision, then all of the things that would contradict that, those decisions are already made. If that makes sense. Like, okay, I have the choice between a $20 Timex watch or a $500 Citizen. It's like, yeah, the Citizen's nice. It's pretty. I need to tell time. I don't need pretty. That decision's already made. I'm going to get the cheap one. It's just as good. That decision's made. The one I usually point to, though, is, you've decided to get married. You got married. You made a decision that this is the person that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with.
It's a choice.
That's a choice. And it's a choice you have to, admittedly, there are times when you have to remake that choice. The thing is, though, you already made that choice, so it's already been made for you. Anything that gets in, hey, I could go out with the boys, but it's going to make the missus upset. That's going to put a rift between me and the missus. And anything that puts a rift between me and the missus, that decision's already been made. I'm not doing that. Now, I'm not saying that in that particular instance, we've never had an issue with that. But there, time and place. Everybody, time and place. If there's something, it's like, you know what? If me hanging out with these people is going to cause some friction in my marriage, guess what? I'm not hanging out with those people. I made that decision.
But you own that, and then you handle that in an emotionally intelligent adult fashion.
I try.
That's what I would expect of anyone. It kind of
goes back to, again, and going back to the highest possible good. I think there's not just the highest possible good. I think there's a lot of other goods that can fall underneath that are also priorities. But ultimately, there's something at the top. And I think a lot of the things that people have at the top aren't healthy long term. Like, again, going back to the money thing. It's like if you'll never hit a point where if money is your ultimate goal, you'll never get to a point where you have enough. You'll always feel like you're lacking.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. There's perspective there. And
sure.
Here we've all heard.
Well, I guess it's easy to say when you don't have a whole bunch of money. That
It's literally a church service I sat through this morning, but for the example of this quote, though, when you align yourself with the highest possible good, and is it look or ask? I couldn't remember what he said either. Look or ask for guidance. God is who answers.
Mm-hmm.
To me, there's almost a tone there of the goodness of God and what that does look like. And that means that when you are seeking good things, and I know that's subjective, or it's
sure.
just, it's to me, it implies that God isn't going to lead you to bad places.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's also a tenet of Christian faith. But
well,
I know though he was using
there's some philosophical things
so
that we
many
can get into in that one.
So many, but he was using biblical references, and no, I haven't read the book, and I don't remember everything that he talked about, but
no, just if you go to one of his lectures and you hold on to like 2 things,
oh man,
you did great.
Well, to be fair, it has been a couple weeks. I was not feeling well. Full disclosure, I was not feeling well. Went into quite a flare, and then we just did have to get through some real life things, and it was a little bit of a choice. As we're talking about choices, I'm like, well, I don't really think I could do this well. Mm-hmm. I mean, you and I can talk all day long, but to try to do it in a more methodical fashion, even though we're, I think, pretty normal when we talk when we're doing this so far.
That was my goal.
Yeah. But that
was always my goal.
It's a goal, but it's just a heavier, because he is heavy. I mean, he's extraordinary, but even for all the things that we're saying right now and our own feelings about this particular quote, that might not even have been entirely where he was going or what he was thinking, and you just grabbed one thing because I know it struck you for a reason.
And
so why did it strike you for a reason?
Because it goes along with a lot of things that I've already been thinking, or I guess beliefs that I have, to get some confirmation from somebody else and completely outside source, unbidden, just he was putting it out there. It resonated. And I think part of that is because of some of the other extraneous issues, not our family, but our kind of extended family. Because there's some priority issues that I see, where they're not truly lining themselves up with the highest possible good. And they're a little bit lost. So to get some validation with, you get a lot more answers if you're seeking them, if you're already trying to align yourself with what's best. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't say I struggle with my alignment. I sometimes struggle with acting like I understand where I want to be aligned. If that, you're looking, you're looking puzzled. Well,
can you explain that?
Sure, maybe, possibly. Okay, there's cognitive and, well, okay, I usually put it like this. There's head knowledge and heart knowledge. And they don't always align. There's what you know to be true and what you live out because you feel it. And, I'm not the feel it guy.
You are not.
No, she's the feel it.
That's right.
But we often act based off of what we feel, not necessarily what we think. It's human nature. So you might know. Okay, this is a good one. There's nobody out there that thinks smoking is healthy.
Okay.
Nobody honestly thinks that setting something on fire, putting it in your face, and inhaling is actually good for you. Cognitively, every smoker on the planet knows they shouldn't be smoking. But they're still smoking.
There's a drive behind it.
Well, there's more than one drive behind it.
Yeah.
Not taking away from that. But if every smoker knows it's not in their best interest to be smoking, they know it. They cognitively know it. And the fact that their actions don't line up with that means that their head and their heart aren't synced.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm following.
Okay. So if you know what you should be doing, and you have a struggle doing it, it means your heart isn't aligned with your head. Because we act on what we like. When we feel motivated, then that's the difference between motivation and discipline. So
there's a difference.
Discipline is functioning out of your head, and motivation is acting out of your heart. What you feel. Because you know what you should be doing it. But you don't always feel like you should be doing it. You don't wanna. Like, okay, I know I should exercise more. I know it. I don't feel it. And I don't. Even though I know better. Like, do I need the Super Butter Bear extra flavor from Big B? No, I don't. At all. Don't need it. But I want it.
Every once in a while.
Once in a while. I don't make a habit of it. There's nothing wrong with a reward. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with a reward. And I'm not saying don't go to Big B. I love Big B.
Yes.
I'm bummed that the ones around us are no longer doing coconut milk, but that's another thing entirely. Coconut milk, much, much superior to all of the other faux milks out there for coffee. Just saying. Anyway, yeah, anywho. Rabbit trail and a half. Anyway, but that's where I think one of the reasons why I think that kind of struck with me is if you align yourself with the highest possible good, it takes alignment. Okay. Okay, this is more trig than anything else.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah, good times. We're about to talk math in theory.
Ooh.
Okay. A point is just a point. It's nothing. In and of itself, it's just a thing out in space. A point. Okay, you need 2 points to establish a line. Where, this point and that point.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if your highest possible good is that point out there, and you're not in any way attached to it, it's just a point that's out there. It serves no purpose. It's just out there. And you can make a line between yourself and, in this case, what you consider to be the ultimate good. That's a line. But that line could be in any possible direction. Doesn't mean you're aligned with it.
Okay.
It takes a 3rd point to establish a plane.
Oh my gosh.
It takes 3 points to establish a flat plane. If you put all 3 of those points on one line, there's you, there's where your head is, there's where your heart is, there's where your head is, and when both of those are pointing to the ultimate goal, you are in alignment.
That's a very interesting metaphor. I'm with you, though. I got you. Okay.
So, I mean, you could have... It's like you could have in your head that's the ultimate goal. But you're still turned. So you're sitting there looking for guidance in the wrong direction. And then, or you could have your heart's aligned with the highest possible good, but your head's not there. You're still pointing in the wrong direction. You're cognitively not there. So you're looking in the wrong direction for the guidance that you need to attain your highest possible good. When you get your head and your heart in line, pointing directly at that point off in the distance of the highest possible good, you're going to see the direction you need to go, that feedback, that's the direction I need to go. That's guiding me to where I need to be. I sometimes struggle with that. I usually struggle with that because I know what's right. And sometimes I feel what's right. But how often do you know and feel at the same time? That's where I struggle sometimes. Because there are times I know it's right to ignore the guy that just cut me off. But I feel that the right thing to do is to punt them into a ditch.
That's so honest. Love that honesty.
I guarantee anybody that drives on a highway has had that urge.
I'm sure somebody else listening to this understands what you're saying.
I guarantee everybody that's on here has had that moment at least once.
So there's so much to what you're saying. Yes. As I'm deciding where to go. There is a type of therapy called acceptance and commitment therapy that I have had quite a bit of training in the process of finishing a certification program in faith-based acceptance and commitment therapy. And much of that and many of the elements we are talking about lie within that therapy, and that you know your values, and it's the idea of aligning your thoughts, feelings, actions, goals together. And then, of course, in the faith-based premise, that be with God, right? In a spiritual context. Mm-hmm. And then there, of course, there's the original version that is the, I guess you say secular, right? Non-faith-based, where it's just more aligning it with same premise, thoughts, feelings, goals, for, I guess you'd say, higher good in all generalities, mm-hmm. right? In what would help fulfill you as a person. There's, again, a lot of elements to it. Not going to get into all of that to detract, but it is that premise, right?
If you want to know more, contact your local counselor's office and seek an appointment.
It was good.
Just saying.
Because that's where we do get off kilter, right?
Yes.
That was really good. That cute little smile on your face. But that's where, yes, we all have the ups and downs and things that knock us off. Grief, depression, anxiety, things that take us away from the goals and the things that we know we should do, the ways that we should think, all the shoulds involved there. But it's not about berating yourself. It's about just figuring out how to all bring it back into alignment.
Yes.
Right? And that is part of counseling. It can be in that way. Now, for what this particular quote is saying, and it doesn't necessarily bring in tone of like counseling, even though he is a psychologist. Jordan Peterson is a psychologist.
Yes. Research and clinical.
But it's, when I heard it, and then even when we talked about it and you wrote it down, my brain still just kind of went to the idea that the goodness of it, where you can be aligned in thoughts and feelings and actions with something that is not good.
Sure.
So when he's saying that the answers come from God, right? And that, and to your point and your explanation, it's whatever the quote God is in that thing. Is that not just a spiritual being in essence, but for whatever the pursuit is. But if you are living a, let's say Christian life, that's we are Christians, that all of those things should be in alignment with God. We should do our best to keep him as the focus in all we do and say. And I don't just mean that in like the literal every word. I mean, the overall arching of our life should be seeking God. Mm-hmm. And if you believe that he is good and you believe that he will direct you on paths that you might not always understand, you might not always agree, you might not even always have some discernible black and white audible voice.
Not usually, no.
But it's about pursuing him and pursuing good And typically, even when you're off kilter, those should still be elements within your equation. If we want to go back to the math, metaphor, analogy, whatever you want to throw in there. But yeah, there was so much loaded in everything he was saying. It was very hard to discern.
Having listened to a number of his different television appearances, as well as a bunch of his lectures when he was teaching, I've actually read some excerpts of some of his papers and articles. So my brain kind of put some pieces together of different components that I mentioned earlier. It's like whatever you put at the highest point in your hierarchy functions as God for you. So even taking any religiosity out of it.
Is that food? Is that comfort? Is that
whatever is
time with your loved ones?
The highest point in that
is that your job?
Is your that thing that you use to align yourself. It's kind of your North Star, as it were. It functions as God for you, as your guiding principle, as your ultimate good, as your ultimate yardstick for measuring and comparing yourself to. And then you take that concept and add and put that in that statement from the lecture. It becomes a more universal concept, because you can remove, in a manner of speaking, the word God from that statement and put all of that other stuff in there. It'd be way too complicated, but it wouldn't be catchy. But whatever you align yourself to as the highest point in your hierarchy, you align yourself with that, the hierarchy answers in that regard. Like it will guide you because it's your guiding principle. So fundamentally, what you point at, what you set as your goal, that goal is going to inform you on how to get to it.
All the things right, wrong, or indifferent will fall in line.
Now, the fact that he qualified his statement with, when you align yourself with the highest possible good.
Again, unfortunately, good can be subjective. I mean,
in all honesty, see, this is one of those where you and I we differ.
I know. We've talked a little bit about this.
In most respects, I don't think as much gray exists as people think it does. People want more gray to exist because they want to justify their own behaviors. I think in most cases there is a very specific right and wrong in most instances. Olives are icky.
Just jumped right there.
Now,
olives.
See, that's a joke. I'm not joking. I think they're icky. But see, that for me, that's where gray exists. Those are a matter of taste. Those are matters of personal preference. Like what you want. I don't care.
Yeah, he's really not kidding. He hates them.
Oh, despise them with a passion. They're just disgusting.
You used to tell me that they tasted like, what did you say? Hot Wheel tires?
No, that was.
Oh. Yeah, well, somebody said it.
Yeah, no.
Somebody said it to me. And I'm like, how would you know what those taste like?
Hot Wheels tires taste like polyethylene with carbon black colorant.
Okay. Fair enough.
I've worked in plastic since 1994.
Sure. I mean, you smell like plastic. Okay. Anyway, he hates them.
I'm not a fan. No. But like I said, to me, that's where gray exists. There's those things that they're a matter of personal taste. They're a matter of upbringing. They're a matter of preference. And that's fine. But to me, you can have all the gray in the world out there. In that regard. causing another person harm is never going to be right. Even when done in self-defense, I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying it's sometimes necessary. I am not afraid to cause a great deal of harm to another human being if it means protecting my family. But I'm not saying that hurting them is good. Because it's not. Defending my family is a greater good.
I can't help but think of like Spock, the Spock quote. Well, and oh my gosh, my mother would be ashamed of me that movie just went out of my head. But you know what I'm talking about.
The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Of course you know what I was talking about.
Yes.
Yes.
Wrath of Khan.
Oh my gosh. Yep. There we go.
And
hence he died at the end.
Yes. He sacrificed himself.
Yes.
To defend his friends.
Yes.
And to me, that was an act of good. Now, there's a million sides to every situation, and I'm not arguing that. But if we all got back down to the simplest terms, certain things are just right, and certain things are just wrong.
I don't disagree with that.
And I think a lot of the gray that people want to exist are trying to justify things that they know isn't right. And I get that there are certain things that are arguably less right and less wrong.
And that's the discussion that we usually end up having.
The problem is it's still wrong. And therein lies...
But it's not my job to judge.
No.
That's up to God.
Well,
in every way, that's God. Like
yes
I can't.
No.
But I can't.
No.
I don't know somebody else's mind and life and things and
yes,
and how they are
and
perceiving.
As much as I am, I'm very opinionated, which we've established in every recording we've ever done and every conversation we've ever had.
Yes, here with the public, and I have in every single day of our life together.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm an opinionated guy.
Yes.
But I strive to not be judgmental.
There is a difference.
Yes.
Yes.
And
that's true. You do. That is has always been who you are.
Because, as you said, I'm not in charge.
No. Neither am I.
So for anybody out there that's like, oh, no, this guy, I'll tell you, for the most part, I'll keep it to my opinions and thoughts of certain things to myself because it's no one's benefit for me to open my mouth. But if you ask, you open that door. And I will tell you. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to treat you poorly because I happen to disagree with something. I'm not a teetotaler. You're looking at me weird. Do you know what you don't?
I'm going to guess it's something gaming.
No.
Okay.
It's a very old term. It means someone who is,
Stop being old. Stop sounding old.
Yeah. The prohibitionists, the complete total outlawing of alcohol, the people that believe that it is completely,
that's historical.
Yeah, it's a historical term. Anyway, well, there's still people who consider themselves teetotalers. They do not drink at all in any way, shape, or form ever. But again, you look at the numbers, alcohol is one of the most deadly things humanity has ever discovered. Because we didn't make it, we just found it. Most murders occur from where one or both of the people, either the killer or the victim, were drunk.
Is this a tangent I should be stopping?
Sort of. But but
I'm trying to give it some latitude here. But
however, anyway, I don't think intoxicants in any way, shape, or form, in any variety, should be legal.
It does lead to a lot of things.
It leads to a lot, and I mean all of them. All of them. Get rid of them all. But at the same time, I'm not the guy in charge. At the end of the day, you don't answer to me. It's kind of an American libertarian viewpoint. If you don't make it involve me, you're an adult. You make your own decisions. Because at the end of everything, we're both going to be face to face with the creator of the universe, whoever that happens to be, for argument's sake. It isn't me. You won't be answering to me.
Same.
We're both going to be answering to the same entity. And I'm going to be responsible for how I treated you and how I lived my life. So I'm not going to treat you poorly because I happen to disagree with your choices.
Or punt you off the side of the road.
Or
any other thing that flies to your head because you know that's not okay.
Yes. And again, unless you make your decisions affect someone else. Like alcohol, drugs, whatever form that you happen to imbibe in. You bring it to work. I have no sympathy for you. You get loaded and get on the road. I have no sympathy for you. Because you're making it involve people other than yourself. What you do, once you're at home, in the comfort of your own home, in the safety of your own home, and doesn't involve anybody other than you, You do you, brother. Not my place to judge. But if you ask, I'm going to tell you I disagree. Just saying.
Okay, I'm not sure why entirely.
Yeah, just saying. Long tangent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway. But I think that's part of the... If we're all aligned with the highest good, I'm trying to align my thoughts and actions and my head and my heart with the highest possible good. Which is why I try and keep that judgmental. It'd be very easy to be judgmental.
Of course it is.
But I also know it's not right. Now, if you ask, I'll give you my opinion, I'll give you my thoughts, and I will give you every reason I have for it. And I have reasons for it. And if I ever don't have a reason for my viewpoint, I'll tell you, you know what? I don't know. I'll have to think about that and get back to you. And I've done that to people, which really confused them.
You've done much better about verbalizing when you've had to think about something.
Well, you specifically, yes, in that regard, because it's usually a different kind of topic. You're asking me how I feel. I don't always understand why I feel the way I feel. Because you're asking for a logical answer to something that is inherently illogical.
You'd think with me by now you'd be used to that.
Well, no, I try to leave the irrational stuff to you. And
wow.
We can't both be there. Things just get chaotic.
True.
But, no, I mean, come on. Everybody that's out there has just sometimes just felt, yeah.
Of course.
And it's like, why are you in a mood? I have no idea.
I don't know.
Something's chewing on me and I don't know what. And sometimes there's something going on and you're not cognitively aware of it, but you're subconsciously aware of stuff that's going on. And until it kind of peeks through into your conscious thoughts, it's just kind of back there stirring the pot. That's usually when I got to tell you, I don't know. I got to think about that for a little bit.
It's a whole lot of whys that we'll never actually...
Sure.
No.
Sure. But anyway, yeah, we got a little off track.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I did. Okay. Well, I drove us off track.
Yeah.
We're now in pit row for some reason.
I did. You didn't grab the wheel. Maybe it was Jesus taking the wheel. I don't know.
Take the wheel.
I don't know.
Damn it.
It should have been feel it, take the wheel.
Yeah, feel it, take the wheel. Yeah.
Feel it, take the wheel.
That's on me. I'll fix it.
And you'll fix that.
But that's okay. That's all right. Anyway, back around to it. Okay.
Is this why you were doing all that deep breathing before we started? Because your brain was just a little squirrel today.
Maybe.
Glitter
Not
dust
so
in
much.
the
There's
air.
a part of me that's just... This is just TMI for everybody. There's a part of me that's just extremely distracted.
We want to talk about for a second how we're real people? We can do that.
Well, a little while back, a friend of mine died. Mm-hmm. Over a period of 30-ish years, he slowly drank himself to death. And every now and again, I start thinking about him. And,
He passed away in August, so now it's been a few months. But
it's been a little while. And I'm not saying it hasn't been a little while, but every time we drove through the area, I thought, it's like, I'd kind of like to pop in and say hi to him, see how he's doing. And we never really seemed to just have the time or make the time. We always had something we had to do. And then it was too late. And I know that we can only do what we can do. You can regret things. It's like missed opportunities. And sometimes things happen to people that you care about. Friends whose marriages fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
Friends that are in such a dark place that they very slowly killed themselves. And there's that part of you in the back of your head that asks you the question of, if I was still there, could I have done something? So when I was at work and something reminded me of my friend, I'm kind of in a feedback loop where it keeps coming back to it. I miss that guy. He was a good dude.
Yes, he was in our wedding. Yep.
Yes, he was. Groomsman number 3.
This is where I'm not necessarily I'm not going to go all counselor because it's not even what I do with my family. Nope. I mean, every once in a while something might come out of my mouth.
It's one of those.
But the truth is, and this is what you and I have talked about in all of our relationships. That we call. There's the term is object permanence, right? Where the thing isn't in your face and you don't think about it. There's also a thing I call people permanence, because like if somebody's not in your circle and just you're not interacting with them all the time, then unfortunately, more often than not, things get lost in the shuffle, right? Yep. Next thing you know, years go by, decades go by. Mm-hmm. That instance, we had moved hours away, and we did not visit anywhere near as often. He had his own life things with divorces and kids and remarriages and stuff, and there was just a lot going on there. And ironically, I remember finding out when he passed away, it was actually the weekend after that he'd passed away, but we hadn't found out till like the next week, because it was a long span before the memorial service, maybe a month or so. Mm-hmm. But I had said, hey, we were literally driving by the road that he used to live on forever ago, but we both knew he didn't anymore. But wondered how he's doing, and I didn't. We didn't talk about it after that. But then to find out that he had passed away was literally like he'd passed away like the week before. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And that's why I had always said, and I do it within my profession, even with my clients, but I certainly do with even my close loved ones. And we talk about how it's just important that your loved ones do know that you care about them. And you never know when your last day is going to be. And I've had some major surgeries in the last few years.
Sure.
Where, I mean, anything comes with risk.
Yep.
Anything at all. I mean, there was a risk in what was, I wouldn't say it was simple surgery, but renal cyst removal. And when you're cauterizing a major organ, your kidney, when you're cauterizing a kidney, and then things did go a little sideways, and we found out a few weeks later things had gone sideways, and then it was a little bit of a roller coaster, and I needed another major surgery to have the kidney taken. But in those instances, you do think, what have I left unsaid?
Yep.
What have I left unsaid? How could I at least reach out one more time to whomever or whatever, or make sure that my immediate loved ones know that I do love them? And those things roll around our minds. And yes. I know you've talked about that on and off. It's been odd to have moved away, but then all the people that were in our circle, oh my goodness, over a decade now, many of them have moved away. Mm-hmm. Like the life that we knew and the people that we knew are just no more.
Yes. Anyway, so, there's
a little bit of grief.
A little bit
of regret.
A lot. Again, you find your good, you align with it, and you do what you got to do. And sometimes, that's, back to the, when you make a decision, it makes a lot of decisions for you.
Mm-hmm.
You make one big decision and a lot of small decisions are made for you.
Yes, whether you like it or not.
If you've truly made a decision, you focus on that.
That you have peace with.
Yes.
Not every decision comes with peace and clarity.
Sometimes you have the choice between horrible and horrible, and you have to choose the horrible that you can live with, or that somebody else can live with. Sometimes you're not given a good option. But, not saying this is the case, just putting that out there. I picked a long time ago. I made my choice a long time ago. That, for me anyway, part of my highest possible good was taking care of my family. And that made a bunch of decisions. And that's one of the reasons we live where we live and I work where I work, is I'm going to take care of my family. As much as I can't say I like where I live, I don't hate where I live.
It's not some creepy crawly detest.
No, not at all.
It's not the preference.
No. The place we moved out of to move here was fine. It was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. There's some things wrong with it. It was a house. It had issues.
It was a little older.
Oh, a little.
and we did this in what I called real estate Hunger Games.
Oh, sure. And then, this is, there are certainly great things about it. I love the fact that if the power goes out, I can still take a hot shower. I love that.
Yes.
The convenience of having everything nearby is great.
Mm-hmm.
But there's the things we had to leave.
Yes.
And I made a big decision, so the little decision to leave was made. It was just a matter of when. And with that came disconnecting, at least to a point, from a lot of the people that were in our lives. And there's a price to be paid for that, even though you're doing what you need to do. Again, you have your highest, you find your highest possible good. You decide to follow that highest possible good, and you use that for guidance. There's still, in business, it's called opportunity cost.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just what you're going to spend to create your business. It's the things you have to give up in order to pursue that. And I had to give up space. I had to give up the possibilities of a lot of things. I had to separate from old coworkers. Maybe not as much as I did. I think that just kind of just happened.
Kind of happens. Families, life, distance. Priorities.
Yeah.
And not just yours.
No,
you stayed in touch with some and for a while, and there's still some that you stay in touch with.
Yes.
He happened to have some significant issues that were causing him to isolate and go through things that we don't even know about.
Yeah.
We heard about,
but he kept a lot to himself.
Regardless, I do understand what you're saying. It was a sacrifice. Mm-hmm. It genuinely was. And I know we've talked about it on and off very recently, just because I know your dream isn't to stay here. But as I launch my career,
I can't say that I.
No, it's figuring out some logistics of how much longer we would have to do that.
Well, and again, like I said, this place is fine.
It is.
It's fine.
But we will never have what we had. I mean, economically, that's just not. I mean, like, everything is different. Like, cost is different, value is different.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the next bubble, then we can afford to do it.
The
bubble's going to pop, okay? People are paying $300,000 for $50,000 houses. That bubble's going to pop.
I mean, it's pretty ugly. It's ugly. But yes, I know we talked about how you've been reminded of him recently, and then we saw my aunt and uncle yesterday. My mother's oldest sister. And then my mother has, the anniversary of her death has recently passed, just recently, and visiting with my aunt and talking about those things. And then her husband has Alzheimer's, and watching that significant digression in just the few months since I was able to visit just before my surgery in December. And to talk with her about how, I mean, it was good that they were able to have conversations while he still could. And
yeah,
again, the regrets thing, right? Where you do your best to align with values and goals, and no matter what's going on, and to tell your loved ones that you do love them while you can,
mm-hmm.
and have conversations and do those things while you can, if that is what you are led to do. It's not about avoiding it or waiting for a perfect opportunity. It's something that you should do.
Yes. See, I think, speaking of your aunt and uncle, their relationship wasn't great.
It wasn't for a super long time.
For pretty much the entire time they were together, from what I've heard, until like 10 years ago.
Oh, probably less than that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm rounding up because it's, we don't know the exact dates and stuff like that. But so it's been less than a decade. Where she effectively put her foot down and said, "This has got to change." And they talked,
mm-hmm.
and they figured stuff out,
mm-hmm.
and their relationship became massively better.
Before the diagnosis.
And now he's in serious, massive decline. They didn't get a good decade. So I'm glad we put that as a high priority. You know, it was part of our highest good was to have a good relationship.
Yes, even for all of our all over the place, which you'll hear more about.
Oh yeah, all over. We are not perfect. We did not start off perfect. We're still not perfect. Just
it's important that people hear that there isn't perfect.
We're both kind of awesome, but we weren't
awesome,
we weren't always kind of awesome together. Okay,
so true. There's no social media facade here. That's not my point. I don't know about you. I won't speak for you, but
nope.
It's been a weird couple weeks.
I don't fake it for people in person. I'm definitely not going to fake it for people while I'm sitting in a room in my own house.
Fair enough. We've talked, it wasn't just about like, the anniversary of like your uncle's passing and then my mother's passing. And I mean, it wasn't just like that odd time of year that comes when I say, oh, grief has a muscle memory, most definitely. And you just kind of know and feel it. And even though time has passed, you still do. It's just been a weird couple weeks. I had probably the worst flare ever. Like, I will say it was, hands down. And just kind of some realities that were attached to that, which I'll talk more about eventually. We processed that together a little bit. And then you happened to run across the thing that reminded you of him. And then seeing my aunt and uncle yesterday, it was a pre-planned trip, but just a lot of weird things in a couple weeks, and
just kind of raw, kind of emotionally raw.
I think that's a good way to put it. And then finding out I have another maternal aunt I knew she was declining, but just how significant.
Yeah.
And with ALS.
Yeah.
So,
that's another awful one.
Yes. And to say, that we are people and we are, we can't be distracted. So it's not just your ADHD moments over there. Like, you were genuinely having a time, and we went back and forth about doing this today, but I think we got our point across.
Yep.
Right?
Well, and we made a decision that we were going to do this.
Yep.
So the question of, are we going to record today or not? Sorry, we decided we were going to do this. That decision was already made for us.
The decision was made.
Now we just got to do it.
We did it. I think you got your point across. So here we are. So, I mean, that was the follow-up to going to that event. Again, I know it's been a couple weeks, but that was that follow-up. So then we'll move on to some other things. We've had some ideas. We'll start to implement other fun things.
Yeah. Could be fun. Well, we'll hope it's fun.
we should have a word from not our sponsor before we end, even with all that we've had today.
Okay. I think we can do that.
Let's do that. Okay. And now here's a word from not our sponsor. Here at Feel It and Fix It, there are many products and services we use in our daily lives. They may not be a sponsor yet, but we can always dream. One of those is Hobby Lobby. When crafting isn't just a hobby, it's a way of life.
And we're back.
You like those. They were kind of fun to do.
They were fun to do. They're and we'll do more.
We'll do more.
Okay.
So I mean, I think we've done enough for today.
I think I've rambled enough. Yeah.
Incoherent, whatever. We're fine.
I am many things, but I hope none of them are inconvenient or.
We can't speak.
I can't speak.
It's
okay, I guess
done.
I just had my moment of incoherence.
It's time to be done.
No. Yes. Anyway. Okay. I'm Fix It.
I'm Feel It.
We hope you join us in the future.
Until next week.
You have a great one.